I'd like to start with you, Mr. Volz. Well, one can definitely agree that the energy landscape has indeed shifted a lot during the last 12 months. And this shift has happened both on a global level, but also in our region, so in Southeastern Europe. So what I would like to ask you, given your role as the special envoy, what are the US priorities and what initiatives are you undertaking to fulfill them, both on a global level, but also in the area, focusing definitely on Greece?
Sure, thank you. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. I know that everybody has busy schedules and deep calendars, and the greatest gift that you can give anyone is the gift of time. So your time spent here is certainly meaningful. This conversation obviously comes at a specific time and against the backdrop of a number of things that are happening globally that are very, very pertinent for the aspirations that we have here in our partnership, the American Hellenic Partnership, and the way that the United States sees the global landscape for energy. We have long been discussing the two costs of energy. There's the balance sheet cost of energy in which you have to pay per kilowatt hour, and then there's the absolute cost of energy, which is the relationships that are formed, the security or lack thereof that is attendant to those choices, and the ability to form closer bonds with partners and allies. We've seen, unfortunately, the absolute cost of energy take a significant toll on our European partners and allies and the global market as a result of Russia's further invasion of Ukraine, which exacerbated already fundamental underlying challenges to the global energy landscape. And so, as a US priority, we are looking to be able to use the resources and the leverage that we have through our resource abundance to assist our partners and allies in being able to make different choices, to make choices that prioritize security, diversity, and long-term economic viability. When you have an over-reliance on any single supplier, as many of our European partners and allies have in the amount of gas that has been part of the energy mix coming from Russia, you open yourselves up to a vulnerability that partners and allies don't necessarily want to be exposed to. They say that in Moscow, oil is for money, but gas is for power. And we've seen Moscow use those gas resources to exert power over our partners and allies throughout the region, to coerce them into decisions that they might not already or otherwise be interested in making. So we're here to help provide optionality and choices. I think this comes again at the backdrop of, I think, tremendous Euro-Atlantic alignment. And while there may be differences, and there are always differences in friendships and alliances, this is really, as Minister Papastavros said, the foundation and the bedrock of the Euro-Atlantic Alliance, and that is a desire to see energy abundance, to see energy stability, and to see energy form the bridge between the United States and Europe. And that comes in the articulation of the $750 billion commitment that the EU made to purchase US energy resources. It also came in the form of a commitment from President von der Leyen to push out all Russian resources in the European Union by 2027, which in energy terms is tomorrow. And as the minister said in his remarks, that is a big, big lift. And we want to help our partners and allies here in Europe achieve those aspirations, because we think it's what's best for our partners and allies, and what's best for our partners and allies strengthens our alliance, and a strengthened alliance is good for the United States. So that's why our focus has been so singularly directed towards our ability to provide those energy resources to our European partners and allies. Why Greece? Why am I here today? Greece stands is the beating heart of one of the most important energy corridors that exists to help achieve those two Euro-Atlantic aspirations as articulated by both Brussels and Washington. The import infrastructure that exists here is tremendous, but not just the import infrastructure. The vertical corridor is a concept that has existed for a long time. That's not new. What is new about the vertical corridor are the circumstances surrounding it. Those aspirations that I just discussed, driving towards energy independence from Russia, driving towards greater economic integration between Europe and the United States, and the political commitment at the senior-most levels to doing this. That we've never seen before. We had 2 cabinet secretaries in Athens when the Greek government was so generous and successful in hosting what has been the largest and most successful partnership for transatlantic energy cooperation that we've ever done. So I owe the minister and his team a great thanks and a little bit of a head shake, because now the bar has been risen successfully so high that we're not sure how we're going to reach that or exceed it in the future. But it's a challenge worth facing. So Greece really stands at the heart, both in terms of infrastructure and commitment to operationalizing what we see as a critically important energy corridor.
So thank you very much for setting up those priorities. It does make a lot of sense, and you've covered a lot of ground, and I would like to get back to quite a few points that you made, but I do get a very positive perspective, both regarding to a US-EU relationship in terms of energy, but also specifically regarding to US and Greece relationship. And I'd like to return the question to Mr. Konstantopoulos as well. So from our perspective, from the Greek perspective, in what ways has the energy landscape shifted in our country, but also in the broader region in the last 12 months? And what is the status of Greece in this new era?
Thank you very much. I'm very happy, first of all, I'm very happy now to be here along with such important and eloquent speakers. And of course to be here with Joshua Volz and taking the floor after His Excellency the Minister. I think there has been a lot of discussion on over-reliance on Russian gas. So that's a discussion that has been held very widely. We don't need to come back to that, and how Europe and Southeastern Europe was over-reliant on Russian gas. But I think beyond that, I think we need to see what the more general trends are, especially in Greece. And especially in Greece, we see that Greece has upgraded as a green hub. More than 50% of the energy, of the electricity is produced by wind and solar, 56% together with the hydro. And our target is to reach the 80% goal in 2030. So this ranks us among the top performers in the EU. And also last year, Greece transitioned into a net export of electricity, primarily supplying the Balkans and Italy, and our grid strategy extends way beyond our borders in many directions, in Cyprus, Israel, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Italy, and Central Europe. Storage is also among our new priorities. We've shifted from building more solar panels to building batteries, and there's a very important capacity that will be available online by late 2026. But of course, the most important development that has been taking place over the last year, to which His Excellency the Minister and Joshua Volz have referred in great details, is the vertical gas corridor, in which Greece plays a strategic role. I don't need to come back to that, but this strategic role was clearly reaffirmed at the PTEC summit here, beginning of November in Athens, where Greece was recognized as a pillar of regional energy resilience, and also as a key entry hub for US LNG into Southeastern Europe. So this is something that comes after a long-term policy of Greece. It translated in important infrastructure investment. I think all of you are aware of the most important milestones. The IGB interconnector, which has been operational since 2022, that laid the foundations. The Alexandroupolis FSRU, which is now fully operational. The expanded Revithoussa LNG terminal and the TAP. Greece functions as a genuine entry port for diversified gas suppliers into Europe. And through this corridor, LNG from global sources, especially the US, will flow northwards, exactly where there is the biggest demand right now. So the vertical corridor offers direct access to diversified non-Russian gas, reinforcing our resilience. Greece is not only the entry point, and Athens is not just hosting the conversation here today, it's contributing to shape Europe's energy future, strategic resilience, and geopolitical stability.
Thank you very much. You did cover a lot of ground as well, giving us the priorities and also focusing, I guess, on the topic on the day, which is vertical corridor. And I would like to get back to that. But before that, I would like to once again switch to Mr. Volz. And you did mention in your initial statement, it's obvious now that Greece and the United States have come significantly closer in terms of LNG-related cooperation, especially after the bilateral agreements we saw signed during the PTEC, but also all that ground that has been covered in the last few weeks or months. So, given this status and given what we also heard from His Excellency the Minister, do you now believe or can state that Greece has ascended to the status of a trusted and preferred partner for the United States in terms of energy in the region? And what are the next milestones in this relationship?
No, I don't agree that Greece has ascended to the level of trusted partner. They've always been there. Now, the relationship has only been strengthened and elevated over the last period of time, and with President Trump's administration, as evidenced by his appointment of Ambassador Kimberly Guilfoyle here to the Hellenic Republic. Those of you that have met her know that she is the very definition of energy and a force of nature, and could not be a more vocal or vociferous advocate for American-Hellenic relations. And that, I think, speaks to the commitment that the White House and this administration has to the American-Hellenic relationship. So it's not that there's always been a long-standing and very trusted and very prosperous relationship between the United States and Greece, but it's absolutely leveled up. There's no question about that. And the political alignment and the commitment from Prime Minister Mitsotakis, from Minister Papastavrou, to use energy as a catalyst for collaboration and commerce rather than a flashpoint for conflict is very, very clear. And that's very much exactly in line with the administration's priorities, where Secretary Chris Wright has placed his focus, which is why he has asked me to be here as frequently and as often as I am, to really make sure that the vertical corridor gets operationalized. But the vertical corridor isn't realized unless the relationship between the United States and Greece is strong. And those opportunities are many, and they're attendant to commercial realities as well. And political aspiration is absolutely essential and it's necessary, but it cannot come in the absence of commercial reality. Aspiration and commercial reality need to align in a way that, as Minister Papastavrou said, creates a sustainable and a durable option. We aren't interested in a short-term relationship when it comes to energy collaboration and regional integration with our partners here in Greece. We're interested in a long-term relationship. And that, I think, is what defines the focus on the relationship between the Hellenic Republic and the United States of America.
So, 2 points. The relationship has definitely ascended, and we have already been a trusted partner, but we're now more than that, and you're in here for the long game.
Absolutely.
So, to shift from the vertical corridor to IMEC, which is another very, very important topic. Once again, switching to Mr. Konstantopoulos. When we're discussing IMEC, we're talking about a flagship project in terms of interconnectivity, and it does have a potential to shape a new environment in the region, but also, I wouldn't say globally, but on a very, very large geographical region. So what will the IMEC's impact be upon its completion, and what added value will it provide for Greece once it's operational?
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here today as a special representative. I've been appointed special representative of the IMEC by His Excellency the Minister of Foreign Affairs, to work very closely with the Ministry of Energy, obviously, but also the Ministry of Transport and all the other line ministries, which is the Ministry of Digital Governments, the Ministry of Development, and the Ministry of Mercantile Marine. And all together, we're trying to set the line of how Greece will participate in the IMEC. We all know how useful Greece will be to the IMEC at the crossroad of 3 continents. it is the ideal point of entry in the Mediterranean. So this is a very important common project to all of us, and I'm sure that we will start working very closely with it with our American partners, but we've already started working on it very closely with our German, French, Italian partners. So thank you for coming to a subject that has attracted attention to across 3 continents, which is the Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, which is something that offers what we're all seeking: reliable connections, sustainable growth, and regional balance. We've seen what has happened lately, with that global trade routes are evolving very quickly, and that the IMEC can complement already existing corridors by creating a new multimodal connection linking all those 3 regions, reducing over-reliance on single choke points and creating new pathways for growth. But what makes IMEC really special and relevant is that it connects 3 vital dimensions of our growing interdependence: transport, energy, and data, within one single infrastructure. And in this regard, it's really an unprecedented endeavor. So you asked me what the effect would be. Well, the numbers are well known. The corridor is expected to shorten transit times between India and Europe by 40%, reduce logistical costs by nearly 30%, benefiting economies that together represent half of the global GDP. Such connectivity will not only accelerate the trade in goods, currently over $120 billion annually, but will also unlock partnerships in technology, in clean energy, in logistics. And as the minister referred to, the success of the EU-India Free Trade Agreement is something that will further push us in that direction. It will serve as, I believe, as a catalyst for the IMEC. And of course, the IMEC has the strong support of our American colleagues, as is well known. So it's not only an infrastructure project, it's a broader vision of regional stability, sustainable connectivity, and cooperative growth. But beyond the economic numbers and beyond the dimension of purely economic development, IMEC also carries a very important political message. It brings together partners that did not used to work in the past. It offers a platform for dialogue between regions that are often viewed separately, but that are deeply interconnected. This approach aligns also closely with the EU's Global Gateway initiative, which promotes sustainable and trusted connections based on shared values. We all understand Greece's natural advantage regarding its as an entry point, as the Mediterranean entry point of the IMEC. Greece can also contribute to diplomatic stability, constructive regional engagement, and has a tradition of bridge building between the East and the West. So there's not much to say. I would also like to say that we've already working very closely on the IMEC project, thanks to the 3+1 initiative. We're promoting this with the US. And this framework of collaboration can serve also as a foundation for advancing the IMEC by linking regional partners with a shared strategic vision.
So definitely a huge project which impact transcends just the numbers. It's a project that is shaping the industry and it's shaping the region. So we're definitely looking forward to what's going to happen when it's complete. But IMEC is on the one side of the globe, and then we have the vertical corridor. And it's the issue of the week, it's the issue of the day. We heard the minister discussing a lot about vertical corridor, and it's definitely a flagship project, one that plays a pivotal role in the process of reducing or even eliminating dependency on Russian gas. So what I would like to ask, from your perspective and point of view, how close are we to seeing this project materializing? And what are the challenges? We had a lot of them, but I would like you to elaborate on that. And what's the tangible time frame for its completion?
Sure. Well, as I said, the vertical corridor is not a new concept. And the opportunities and the attendant challenges are actually well known. As was just articulated, like IMEC, the vertical corridor is a grouping of countries that have not historically been characterized by collaboration and coordination. And there are many different stakeholders along the vertical corridor. And bringing those stakeholders together to find commonality in purpose and commitment to that purpose is, I think, at the core of the challenge that we face in the vertical corridor. Engineering is simple. Yes, there are some mountains through which pipelines would need to pass, but these things are easily overcomable. It is the commitment at both a commercial and a political level that is, I think, the greatest headwind that we face in operationalizing the vertical corridor. If it is not commercially sustainable, it's not sustainable politically, it's not sustainable in any form or fashion. And because there are so many waypoints between Greece and Ukraine, there's a lot of coordination that needs to take place. We don't expect that anyone is going to participate in operationalizing this corridor for free. Everybody needs to be able to maintain ongoing and business concerns, and everybody needs to be able to find value, commercial value, and profit. Because again, this is not a charity case that we are outlining. It is an opportunity for economic growth. And right now, the vertical corridor is operational. There are cargoes that are moving from Greece into Ukraine, but right now it's a trickle. And we have to move from a trickle to a flow. And the aspiration is to move from a flow to a flood. And so gaining that commercial security in long-term contracts, which make the choices for our commercial partners and our stakeholders throughout the vertical corridor choices that can be made with greater confidence. It brings down the cost of capital. It allows people to make choices on a longer-term basis. That's really at the heart of what's going to be necessary to move what is now the trickle to a flow and a flow to a flood. And we have tremendous aspiration outlined by both President Trump and President von der Leyen of the timeline for which this needs to be moving swiftly. Again, that's part of the reason why Secretary Wright asked me to focus so exclusively on helping our partners and our stakeholders throughout the vertical corridor move from aspiration to realization. There are 3 C's of the arc of engagement, not to be confused with the 3 C's initiative, which I am looking forward to seeing so many of my friends at the end of April. But it all starts with a concept, and then we move from a concept to a conversation. And we often get stuck at the second C, which is a conversation. We talk a lot about it. We examine the problem from every angle ad infinitum. But moving from the conversation to the construction site is what's essential. And that's the phase that we're in now. And that will take political commitment, political courage, it will take capital, and it will take a model that allows everybody to be able to benefit from Greece all the way through to Ukraine. And the vertical corridor, if operationalized correctly, will only enhance the other corridors that are around it. This is not a zero-sum game. IMEC will benefit from a healthy and a viable vertical corridor. So we're very, very ambitious, and we are putting our ambition at the forefront of our agendas and our schedule. And we will be convening a ministerial in February, at the end of February, to sit with ministers and examine what the headwinds are and what the expectation is for action on the part of all of the stakeholders that are going to be necessary for operationalizing that opportunity.
So the next tangible time stamp would be end of February for the ministerial?
There will be a ministerial hosted in Washington at the end of February, but we have absence is the enemy of progress and momentum. And so we have outlined a calendar of engagements that's going to keep all of our partners in the vertical corridor very, very busy. We're going to see each other frequently. We're going to have birthday calendars for all of the ministers, because I think they're going to be missing some of them because they will be so frequently together. So we'll start the birthday club, Minister Papastavru, and we'll make sure that yours is on there. We want to operationalize this in a way, again, that is sustainable and durable and ambitious. And we've outlined a very busy calendar from now until the end of the year to make sure that happens.
So we have this dual commitment. One is political, and the other is monetary. And if those two align, we can see that coming through, right?
100%.
Okay, and I guess we've covered a lot of that. And last but not least, I'd like to put the topic of interconnections on the table. Our panel focuses on interconnections, and we heard about IMEC, we heard about vertical corridor. It all adds up and makes sense. So how do these projects shape the new landscape, and what is their impact on logistics in the region? Because it's also shaping a lot of that on that sector as well.
Yes, thank you very much. I must say, I must agree with Mr. Volz that the vertical corridor is just a part of a bigger, broader scheme, and that it will support each other, mutually support these schemes. Thank you for bringing the subject to interconnections, and this is exactly where Greece's role becomes more relevant, particularly relevant. What we're witnessing in the region is not just infrastructure development, but it's a gradual integration of maritime, rail, road, and air logistics networks into a single interconnecting system that is reshaping the trade flows across. So we see what's happening. Greece has a particular role in this. Greece's transport and logistics system is becoming an integral part of the European backbone of the IMEC. We're fully aligned with the EU's updated trans-European networks on transport framework. We see already that we have the Baltic Sea, Black Sea, Aegean Sea, and the Western Balkans, Eastern Mediterranean corridor, which link Greek ports and railways with Southeast and Central Europe, and extend connectivity even beyond that to the Black Sea region. On land, there have been major rail upgrades that are strengthening cross-border connectivity. We have two key projects, which is the modernization of the Alexandroupolis-Ormenio railway line and the Thessaloniki-Idomeni line, which will enhance also interconnections between Greece and Central Europe. Our ports, of course, form the maritime layer of this interconnection system. We know the role that's played by Piraeus that links Asian trade directly with Europe, Thessaloniki that connects maritime routes with the Balkans and Central Europe, Alexandroupoli that is evolving into a strategic gateway between the Aegean and the Black Sea region, and we have many other ports in Greece that enhance our connectivity, Kavala, Igoumenitsa, Patra, and Iraklio. There is, of course, also the air cargo dimension that's important. The airport of Athens and the airport of Thessaloniki are the ones handling the main air freights, but there's also an idea about developing a dedicated cargo airport, which could further enhance Greece's prospect as an air logistics hub. Now, logistics, since you refer to logistics, is also a key dimension of connectivity. And Greece has made significant progress in the logistics sector, capitalizing on its compared advantages and investing in infrastructure upgrades, rail connectivity, digitalization, and development of modern freight centers. We have developed, or we are developing rather, major intermodal hubs such as Thriasio near Piraeus, and there's a planned logistics center near Thessaloniki in Ronu. And of course, as everybody knows, Greece is backed by one of the world's leading maritime community, which is a key contributor to a stable global trade flow and to the resilience of the global logistical system. The impact of these interconnections project is clear. They transform Greece from a peripheral endpoint into a core junction of European and interregional logistics network. But its effect is way beyond Greece. It strengthens the supply chain resilience, it creates alternative trade routes, and enhances connectivity between Asia, the Middle East, and Europe, in line with our common IMEC vision.
So with that note, I would like to thank you very much for the very fruitful and insightful conversation. We covered a lot of ground, we made news, and looking forward to our next steps in this process, which is very, very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.